my sciatica.
Okay, so we're back with the Liberty or Death. I don't know why I had a brain fart there. Oh, because I'm old. I'm an old man. All right, so sorry, I'm gonna move the mic here a little bit. The pop filter, so I don't popcorn it. And now it doesn't want to stay up. You rat bastard. Do your job, pop filter. Okay. So what we're going to do, hi ho, what's a crack-a-lackin'? What we're going to do here is we're going to go over some of these guys. Some of the new guys especially. So while we're doing this, we're going to learn about our generals. And I think in the later episodes, we'll go over the British generals, although I'm not as clear with the British generals as I am the American generals. And again, it's been a long time since I minored in American history, where I majored in economics and that type of thing. So I'm not going to get everything correct. If I make a mistake, tell me in the comments. Absolutely. Call me out on it. So here we go. We're going to do something different here. I've been keeping people stagnant because I didn't want the British to kind of like go on islands, but I'm finding that maybe in order to make it a little bit more interesting, we're going to start moving guys around. We're going to leave some of these things open. And we'll fill them in with bad commanders later. The bad commanders just staying there and holding a little section to keep it blue is the best course of action. But you can see here, I'm looking at John Sullivan. Now, John Sullivan, let's learn about John Sullivan. John Sullivan, his big thing was the Sullivan Expedition. Here's where George Washington is not the great saint that some people hold him to. George Washington was a great leader. He was the guy that kept our country intact. He, through what he calls divine intervention, but I call principled self-assuredness, good morals. He is the one that held this country together, not only through the American Revolution by pushing back critics, doing good strategy, such as creating a spy ring after Nathan Hale died, but also just his leadership. He was one of those, if you ever met an individual that was just a leader, and you didn't know why, you're just around him and you kind of knew, you were like, this person is worth listening to. I've only heard a little bit about him, but there's something about him. Well, that goes for men and women. And it's just, that's what they have. They have an innate leadership. Most of that is culled by their upbringing. And some of it's by their genetics, that they're just, they have a good head on their shoulders. But a lot of it's by their upbringing, to do the right thing. This is how you treat people. This is how you do this. Anyways, George Washington, one of his bad things was, like most people during that time, yes, he was a slave owner and everything like that. You got to realize there's a line between courage and insanity. If he sat there, I'm going to free all my slaves and no one should own slaves, he would have lost everything. People would have, in Virginia and the Carolinas, they would have ripped everything from him. So, unfortunately, you cannot be stupid in your principles, which I feel a lot of SJWs are at this point. A lot of the people who follow the wrong people, they are stupid in their principles. You can't be stupid in your principles. You kind of have to, you have to find ways to do what's right, but not piss off a massive amount of people. And George Washington, basically, he treated his slaves okay, and at the end, when he died, then he could do, I set these people as freemen, which was legitimate at the time. That was the loophole. And he knew that if he kept the slaves with him, they would be treated well. But if he freed them while he was alive, they would have been picked up by other people that would have treated them maliciously. See, it's not a very clear-cut thing. That's why we had a civil war, to tell you the truth. Another thing was his attack on Native Americans. And I finally got into my point about John Sullivan. Okay, so John Sullivan led the Sullivan Expedition. Here he's a colonel, but at that time he was a brigadier general. And his task was going out here to the Western Front, 16, where the Butlers are. There was a Little Beard as well. And it was the Seneca Nation, which was part of the Iroquois Confederacy. And the Seneca, we call them Seneca, but they call themselves, and there's a town in New York that bears their name, Onondaga. Onondaga. So it's very tough. You have a European try to pronounce words, especially in New York, on the western and southern tier of New York. Holy crap. They're like, how the hell do you spell that? Even people in California. Well, people in California are kind of brain dead. But no one here listens. Canadians and Californians downvote my videos anyway, so what the hell? What are you going to do? But simply because the Onondaga were the Seneca tribe. And so Sullivan was put out there to destroy them. Because they were in line with the British, remember? Because Britain lied to them and said, oh, no, we're not going any further west. And we're keeping these things as is, so you keep your land and everything. So it was in the Native Americans' best interest to actually fall in line with the British. I can't blame them. However, as much as we like to say Native Americans, the poor Native Americans during this time, they were brutal. First of all, they didn't even invent the wheel. So why did they get defeated? Well, that's one big thing. They didn't even have horses till we came around. Second is, when they attacked, women and children were not safe. They raped women, killed them, killed children. Native Americans would kill children at the drop of a hat, unfortunately. Okay? So let's not, no one's white or black, white hat or black hat. It's all gray. And Native Americans would kill women and children. And that is why Americans fought them on many a level. Most of the time was an attack by a Native American that would kill women and children. And that's what offset the Sullivan. That's what set off the Sullivan expedition. So Sullivan, as you can see here, he's decent in tactics, very good in discipline, because he was very much in line with George Washington. He appreciated this, what he felt was an important task, to get rid of the Native American tribes, and he did a good job at it. So what we're going to do here, if we can, we're going to move Sullivan. Can we move Sullivan? Nope, we can't move him yet. But that's what Sullivan did. He was the Sullivan expedition, and he kind of burnt the agricultural methodology to the ground for the Seneca tribe and the Iroquois Confederacy, which was the basis, by the way, of our republic. The Iroquois Confederacy, they essentially had representatives and such covering the full mass of democracy. So what the tribe felt, they had a representative. They went to the Iroquois tribe. There were 7 nations. I am part of one of those 7 nations, by the way. I do not remember what I am. I am a tribe up near Warrensburg, New York, which is right about here. Right about here. Right about. So between 13 and 12, that's where my mother's side is from. She comes from Dutch, which the Dutch settlers before America ever got here. So we settled Dutch here. And, of course, interbreeding with the cultures, the Dutch and, the Native Americans got along. They got along, for the most part. And so that's what happened. My wife, by the way, is from probably up here. She's French Canadian. She's French and then French Canadian, and then they moved down here. near up here near Sable Cabins. My father's side is over in Scotland. I actually have somebody here. I won't name them because they're on the British side. Sorry. A lot of my father's side, my big DNA, mostly Scottish. On my father's side, we fought against America a lot. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, Americans. But they're Scottish, and one of my distant ancestors is fighting on the British side here in this little scenario in the American Revolution. Didn't do much. Don't worry about it. All right. So that was Sullivan. So we're going to arrest Sullivan. Now we got 18. Now we got Nicholas Herkimer. Sorry. So Nicholas, sad tale. He's German, as the name insinuates. So he came from a German lineage that was, I think they were based out west. West Pennsylvania, where the Germans first settled here in America. You got to remember, every time, America's really weird in the culture, where, Pennsylvania Dutch, we got the English right here in Massachusetts and Connecticut that arrived. French Canadians dripped down from Canada, so a lot of Maine and everything was Nordic and French. It's just amazing how we kind of did this. And Germans usually went west. So Germans would go west. Like when the Hessians came over and after the American Revolution, the survivors went back and went, you wouldn't believe all the land. They got land out west. And that's why you have a lot of German lands over here, Wisconsin and that type of thing. But Germans were out here. So that was Herkimer. And if we look, I think here, let me see if we see the info on the officers. New York line. So yeah, he was based out here, 17. Niagara. I think that's Niagara. And so Herkimer, there was a battle of Oscorari, I think it was. He was injured. And here was the problem. The doctors at that time also fought. So the regular doctor, the regular surgeon that would handle all these issues, he was wounded as well. So they had a inexperienced doctor. Herkimer was shot in the leg. They waited to amputate it. And then when they finally did amputate it, they waited too long. Became infected. They had gangrene. There was disease. They did amputate Herkimer's leg, but unfortunately for Mr. Herkimer, or Colonel Herkimer here, unfortunately for him, it was too late, and he died of the infection. So he was one of the he was one of the casualties of war. Now this guy, though, the one that I said is so horrible. Look at him. This is funny. Okoye, I love you. This is such a funny little thing. You guys looked at him. You give him horrible leadership, horrible tactics, horrible discipline, horrible reputation. I had to look up Francis Barber because I never read about him. Well, in 1783, he was with Washington's troops. Or no, was it 1783? Maybe it was after the Revolution. Well, I don't know. 1770, 1778, maybe? Well, one of these times, he died because a tree fell on him. That's Francis Barber. That's why I don't know about him. So Francis Barber, Francis Barber, unfortunately, boy. That was his claim to, that's his only claim to fame. He just didn't look out when they were cutting down trees in the, probably to build barracks or something like that. And, unfortunately that's what happened. So what we're going to do is we're going to have Herkimer and Barber, we're going to make them move to 25. So we're going to basically destroy these guys. And then we're going to try to populate New York here. So we're going to go here. We've got to take all our rations, our kegs of powder, and our money. So we're going that way. And I'm sorry if I'm over loquacious here, but this is, I do love American history so much. I'm sorry if I'm bored and your people going, just play the damn game. But Yeah, I minored in American history for a reason. Okay, so we got Daniel Morgan. We told you about Daniel Morgan. Daniel Morgan's one of my favorites. I do like Benedict Arnold. I do. Even though he's a traitor, I don't accept that at all. But John Stark. Well, John Stark, he's such a good guy. He was a veteran of the French-American Indian War. The French Indian War. Sorry, not the American. There was no American at the time. And so he was a very hardened military man, and he held the militia here. But he was an American general, so he's militia here. But we got to recruit him because eventually he became one of our best. He was at Bunker Hill. And he was known for keeping the militia during Bunker Hill, which is probably why he's militia in this game, disciplined, which was against everything that happened up to that point where all the militia, Lexington, with Lexington Concord and those types of engagements and the little engagements prior, militia would break, and that's where the British got that notion that militia would always break. And of course, he's the hero of Bennington. So Hessians were coming up to solidify Burgoyne, and if they arrived and met up with Burgoyne, because they came up through here, the Hessians came up through here. Here's Bennington, and they were going to meet right here, right before Albany. So they were going to meet prior to Saratoga, probably where my ancestors, Warrensburg, Ausable Chasm, where my wife's family's from. They were going to meet there and then come down. If they met up with Burgoyne, Horatio Gates, Granny Gates, his incompetence would have rued the day. And they would have been beaten by the Hessian and everything, even with Benedict Arnold there, and other generals that were also partaking of that. I think Caldwaller was there. But maybe Thompson, although Thompson I think was up in Canada. So so he beat back those Hessian troops. So one, he helped Saratoga. He was another hero of Saratoga, even though he was not physically there at the Battle of Saratoga. He stopped the Hessian troops and defeated them in Bennington. There's a Bennington monument up in Vermont that bears his statue. Then, not to be outdone, but John Stark also went up and cut off Burgoyne from retreating from Saratoga. So, and Saratoga probably here in this map is right up here, the north of Albany, because it's not far off from Albany, not at all. So he cut them off so they could not retreat. So he was very instrumental in us gaining our freedom in America. John Stark, one of those unsung heroes, one of the forgotten heroes of the time. Thomas Boyd, not good tactics, not good discipline, and not a good reputation, not good leadership. But Thomas Boyd, he was part of Sullivan's expedition. Thomas Boyd, yes, Thomas Boyd. He had a guide, a Native American guide, and the Native American guide, they found five Seneca scouts, and the scouts, it was, according to records, it was obvious. The scouts weren't hidden. They wanted to be seen, and they were seen, and the guide was like, that's a trap. And of course, Thomas Boyd goes, you silly Native American scout. I don't trust you. I know what I'm doing. Well, you led his men right into a trap. So, and he's a guerrilla guy here in this game. I didn't see anything. I thought he did have scouting parties. That's what Thomas Boyd was. But Thomas Boyd led his men right into a trap, and he wasn't really heard from after that. So it's amazing that he's in the game, but they grabbed a lot of people. They looked through some books, probably the history of the American Revolution. So that's Thomas Boyd. Now, with these guys, what we're going to do, we have nobody here. John Stark. Let's see, can we recruit John Stark? No. He's too... Oh, can we move Thomas Boyd? No. We can't do anything here, so we got to rest. All right, George Washington. John Thomas. Now, John Thomas, he's rated way too high. I don't know why when we put him with like Artemis Ward and everything of that nature, he ranks higher. He was a doctor, and he was in the siege of Boston, of course. But he died of smallpox because he led a further expedition up into Canada. So a lot of his men got smallpox and everything of that nature. He got it as well, and yeah, that's what happened. So he kind of led after Montgomery and Arnold, and they kind of failed, then kind of succeeded, then came back down. He went up there and just started doing excursions against these guys in Quebec and such. And yeah, so he let me see. Oh, we got a lot of body here, so that is good. We got a lot of body. So yeah, he died of smallpox. So unfortunately, that doctor. William Heath, another incompetent guy like Thompson was. William Heath, he had Washington kept him because he was promoted brigadier general as well by Congress. Congress was really horrible during this time, just like now. But he had bad excursions. Washington had Trenton when they went over and beat the Trenton army, crossing of the Delaware by George Washington, and he told, which is now West Point, was Fort Washington. He told him to take Fort Washington, which should have been an easy one for a good commander. That should have been an easy victory. William Heath messed it up, which just solidified, and that's how Washington also had good strategy. He said, "I'm going to have him do this. It's not going to be major if he doesn't succeed, but I want to see what is make him metal. He should win." And he failed. And George Washington was then assured that his original assessment of William Heath was right, that he was not a very good commander and should not be a general. And then from then on, he just made Heath just hold land and keep kind of things in order and do supply lines. Tench Tilghman. Wonder Tench. Tench is good with discipline and loyalty and reputation, so that's good. He was the aide de camp, so he is a big part of George Washington. The aide de camp, a French word, that means just the assistant. So Tench Tilghman, he's the reason that we see a lot of Washington's humor with the letters, because he's the one that kept all these as the aide de camp. He was also fluent in French, so when the rest of them came over, even the people like Duportel, who criticized Washington, DeKalb, he's another guy that criticized Washington because that's what the French always do, is criticize America. It happened even before we were a nation, folks. So, but he was one of the guys that were really close to Lafayette, who was not incompetent and who did admire Washington greatly. That's what Tench Tilghman's main thing was. He could speak French. So when the French joined, he became a lot more important. But he was also very important where he was. He kept a lot of the records that we know about Washington today. So Tench Tilghman, not a wartime hero, not a glory hound, but very important for us to look back on that time. Now, we have enough people, and I think we're going to do it. Here we go. We're sending everybody. We can get some other people. We'll get some people Boston. So Charles Lee, Washington, Caldwaller, Worcester, Mason, who now has cannon, and Aaron Burr. We're going to force these guys to retreat. George Washington, as always, will take the front line. Thomas, Knox, Heath, Tilghman, Charles Lee, Washington, Caldwaller, Worcester, Mason, Burr. All right. Well, review. We got Gage, who, see, so he did draft people, but his training is 17, his arms are 13, which is despicable. Asgill of the Rhode Island line. Again, we'll talk about the British later. Training, arm, he's going to be a tough one. Training arms for Robert Piggott. He's got good tactics, of course. Asgill does not, and it's just appropriate. So we're going to do this. Build a bridge. Yeah, of course not. I'm not even going to wait for Mason here, to tell you the truth. William Washington. Come on, Knox. Now, here's the bad thing here. I don't see, I don't know what's, the color scheme is so bad here in DOSBox. I don't know what is crossable and what isn't crossable. So I just got to send my troops down all over the place. Just to see. Yeah, couldn't build a bridge there. We're going to see if these guys can go here. If somebody can see this stuff, then that would have been great. We're going to try this again. Yeah, I'm not very confident. In Mason building this bridge. Uh-oh. Okay, so they're going that way. Yeah, Mason's not going to do a damn thing, to tell you the truth. There we go. There we go. There's... So it looks like it's a whitish type of thing. And I shouldn't have done that. Oh, what the hell? How did you know? All right. We're just going to send Washington back up because I messed that up. Holy crapola. Good going, Mason. All right, so we're going to bring these guys up in this manner. Move him. Move him. So we're going to send our our battle buddies that way, and our reinforcements going to stay this way. All right. Got him. All right, end the turn here. And I can't scare them off too much. Because if I do, then we're going to lose get engaged. There we go. That's what I wanted you to do, you moron. Boom. Mason brings it, and then Lee, who's going to basically say, this is all our victory. Asgill, we got him. All right, so Lee pushes back. Mason's jumping the gun a little bit there, but that's good. And the turn here. Don't. Yeah, we're going to bring Knox up. All right. And the turn here. We're going to bring these guys over that side. Because if we could capture Piggott as well, I want to, because he is a dangerous man. And we have enough rations to get us going here. Now, can I... Damn it. Attack me here. Good. If they're smart, they will not attack. Charles Lee, as usual, will be a coward and go in the back. And turn. Piggott ain't gonna stand for this shit. Got him. Yes, that's what I wanted. Gage is caught, so we got him. We're going to release you. Because we need that money. Piggott. Loyalty, reputation, discipline. Damn it. No. Asgill. You can have Asgill. All right. Lee, Washington. Caldwell. Okay, so John Caldwell, he's well known for. There was the Conway Cabell, like I said earlier, DeKalb, Deportel, some French guys, and Thomas Conway, which you wouldn't think is French, but he was French. Wrote letters to Horatio Gates. That Horatio Gates, the hero Saratoga, was so much better they'd write to Charles Lee that his tactics were far superior to Washington, and that Washington was a buffoon and Washington would lose. And Thomas Conway was the one that most people point to as the individual who started that, and that's why it's called Conway Cavil. Now, John Cadwalader, a good man, was very much in line with George Washington, and he, after being dishonored by Thomas Conway, shot him in the mouth, left a nasty, nasty scar on Conway. But Cadwalader, he almost messed up Trenton because he was supposed to come from the other side, Pennsylvania, but he couldn't get his artillery over the ice, so he backed up and retreated back to Pennsylvania. So thank God that Washington got the Hessian troops by surprise, or else, Trenton would have never happened. And that kind of would have put a big blow to America eventually winning the Revolution, even with France's help. But he was a fiery guy. Thomas Conway was a weasel, a ne'er-do-well. Just basically, he was the SJW of his time. Just backbiting son of a bitch. Other than that, that's what Cadwalader did. Mason took part in one engagement, really not known for anything. We all know Aaron Burr. Aaron Burr shot Alexander Hamilton after the war. Also tried to usurp American politics and was branded a traitor as well. Yeah, that's what they did. Let me see. Okay, so we're gonna do this. Charles Lee, 5,000. I could send green. So we got 1,000, 1,500. Aaron Burr got messed up just by moving. He didn't even hit anybody once. Not a very good general there. Green. We're going to send all these guys. We got Nathaniel Green we're going to keep here. Wooster, you see his body? He can move, but he can't because this is as far as he goes as a militia guy. He stays around here. I'm not going to send Burr. Burr I'm going to send to 20. Christopher Green I'm going to send to 20. Aaron Burr I'm going to send to 21. I need Nathan Hale. Alright, so... Alright. Send about 2,000. Yeah, that's good about. That's good. They arrive safely. Regiments move. New London, we're going to send him. 500. 45. And then we're gonna move Newport. Christopher Green. 43. There. And we'll send that. What I wanted to talk about here was Deborah Sampson. People have Sybil Ludington, which is after Arnold turned traitor and was doing Connecticut. There was a big push in the 90s to have Sybil Ludington, a 16-year-old. Oh, the female Paul Revere. She did a great job. Blah blah. She's an American Revolution hero, and not really. She took too long to raise the militia. She took the wrong path that delayed that, but she did a good job. Her heart was in the right place, but she failed. But it just showed in the 90s where we started saying women are girl power, women are great, blah blah. But we couldn't criticize women. We can't do that to this day. You criticize a woman, you're labeled in America, which is horrible. But But this one, Deborah Sampson, she was a poor person. Poor person. She was six children, which was actually a small family during that time. You see a lot of families as like the first of 11 children. Well, that's because the mortality rate was high. So even if you had 11 children, you come out of that, and you have 5 of them live to 25. Oof, and we don't know how great we're living in right now. In the fact that we have children, and for the most part, most of them live to a good age, despite their bad actions or just genetic makeup for illness notwithstanding. But we're highly successful in getting people to live. Back then, not so much. And for me, I don't know if I could have dealt with that, losing a child. I'm sure, during societal changes, I kind of would have learned, but boy, that's like the worst thing ever. As much as I love my kids, I just couldn't see one of them passing away and kind of being the same person after that. Anyways, talk about real person. Deborah Sampson Garrett was the one that dressed up as a man, and she used the name Garrett. I believe so. Oh no, she was Garrett. Sorry, Deborah Sampson. And so she was Robert Shirtliff. That's a pretty trolly thing to do when you're a woman there. Yeah, shirt lift. What's that mean? Well, if you lift my shirt, you would know I'm a woman. That was pretty. She was the first good meme generator of America. So she signed up as a man, and she served under Captain Thayer of Massachusetts. So she was 1778, so much later than here. So she was in the army for 3 years, got wounded twice. She got a sword cut on her head and shot in the shoulder. But she went undetected until she got brain fever. And now she got brain fever, and they tried to cool you down by opening up your clothing and sponging you down. Now, there was a physician, Dr. Binney. Of course, he discovered a charade. She didn't have a man chest, but he said nothing. So here's the thing. When they talk about patriarchy, it's always been a man's society, and men are evil, and all this kind of thing. This is why one of the bad things about feminism, because they look at it and they generalize like a whole generation, a whole culture. Well, this Dr. Binney didn't say a damn thing. Instead, he took her out of camp and took her to her house. He did tell General Washington, of course, because she had to. That's the rules. She got better because Dr. Binney treated her at her house. General Washington, of course, summoned her, and he didn't court-martial her. He didn't chide her, but he went by the rules. You're a woman. You cannot fight. We don't want you to fight. You're way too important to, because back then women were very important. You're too important. You were a young woman, and we need you to keep the human race alive. That's why we don't want you fighting in wars. And he gave her a letter, and he gave her enough money to go home safely. That was it. No court martial, no nothing. It's just thank you for your service. You can't serve. Now, so she gets married, of course, to Garrett. So that's why she's Deborah Sampson Garrett. And George Washington's president. So she receives a letter inviting Robert Shirtliff to visit Washington. So during her stay, a bill was passed granting her a pension. Now get this. This is supposed to be the patriarchal male society that's so horrible for women. George Washington granted her a pension. So instead, in addition to giving her certain lands, which she was going to receive, she was also classified as an American soldier, a veteran of the war. So there you go. So as much as we like to say it was horrible for women during that time. You know, it wasn't cut and dry. It was not cut and dry. Anyways, so that's Deborah Sampson. I wanted to tell you about that story because that's something you don't see in the history book. You just see, oh, women weren't allowed in the army. Well, for good reason. I just told you that 11 children, 6 might make it to 25. So a woman that could give birth to 11 children and not die herself was very vital to the existence of our existence. So yes, sorry if women nowadays go, oh, we're not just birthing chambers. Well, yeah, that's true. They held much. They kept society. Women kept society together as well through communal societies, which a lot of women did. The women of the Revolution, the Americans, the women for liberty, that type of thing, and just keeping society together as a whole. Women, you need women for that as well. But for our existence, men are expendable. Women, not so much expendable. That's why we've always tried to protect them. For the good societies, have tried to protect them. And then the bad societies come in, and what's the first thing they do? They rape the women in order to get their seed into the society they're conquering. So, which is a horrible, horrible thing, and still happens in Africa. But it's not cut and dry about how horrible men have always been. So just to let you know on that one, because she was given her due, and she was recognized as a hero of the American Revolution, and she was rewarded for it. So there you go. All right, so we got Nathaniel Green here, rest, and Christopher Green. We're going to keep him here. I don't know if we're going to draft. Well, we can't draft because we got no money. But can we, since you only got a 37 organization. I think I messed that one up. Officers here. Jameson, John Jameson. So we got John Jameson here. His battalion was, well, he's cavalry. I think that's misrepresentation. I don't think he was cavalry. But anyways, we could use cavalry. I love it. So he was cavalry. He is cavalry here. I don't think he was so much during the Revolution. But Jameson was the first to use what you've probably seen here in America now, "Don't Tread on Me," and the snake flag cut up. His battalion was the first to use that. That's his big claim to fame. He also, as you can see, as a colonel, he was the one to expose the messenger going to Benedict Arnold. We'll talk about Benjamin Talmadge, but Benjamin Talmadge was like, oh no, it's going to Arnold. Don't worry about it. Because Arnold was known as a hero. People like Talmadge knew him. It was like, Arnold? No, he's good. Don't worry about it. It was probably just bad procedure of that letter. John Jameson didn't think so. So he sent that letter to Washington, and that's how it was found out that Benedict Arnold betrayed the American cause. So, anyways, that's Jameson. His key point was disobeying don't worry about that guy. And he was like, no, this is the procedure. This is what we have to follow. I'm adhering to our orders. So Jameson, by being someone who followed orders, exposed treason by Arnold, which would have cut us off here if the British took Fort Washington, which is now West Point, and which is Arnold was held at the time. It would have prolonged the war at least. I don't know if it would have did anything. But, okay, so Schuyler, he's got good tactics. Jameson, not the greatest tactics, but we're gonna do a battle. We are gonna do a battle with these guys. Hopefully they can both go. Yes, they can. Actually, no, not yet. Regiments, drill, Jameson. All right, he's got 40. All right, now we're going to battle. So we just got to keep them out, though. Bring it all. Bring it all. Bring it all. Aye. And we got Herkimer, Broadhead, and Barber. Get them from both sides, folks. Skylar there. And then we're going to have these guys come up in that way. And we got, yeah, we got the Butler. We got the Butler boys. All right. Herkimer isn't really trained either. Did I kind of just... I think I set myself up for failure here. I got untrained troops going against these guys. And I got no artillery to speak of. Alright. These guys should be good here. Barber's a mess. Yeah. It's even. Yep, these guys. I think I'm gonna lose a lot of good men trying to take this stuff over. End the turn again. End the turn. End the turn. I wish there was a visibility rating because they could see me coming over. I guarantee it. Put Skylar down here. All right. Told you I was going to lose a lot of good men. He was caught. Butler's caught. You stay down here. Well, we're going to wait. Just hanging out. Don't worry about us. Oh, just not good. Told you we're going to lose way too many lives for this. Skylar is going to save the day, though. You go over there. All right, Walter. So we got Joseph Butler, though. And that's going to be good. Why, release Butler? No. All right, so they're pushed off to 17. Aaron Burr, regiments move. Can't move any of those guys. We're going to rest. William Thompson. All right, so I told you about William Thompson. Just an incompetent general. Talmadge. There's Talmadge. I don't know if anybody ever saw Turn, American Spies on AMC. Nothing, hardly anything in that is accurate. And they're basically using social justice type of little messages to go, see, yeah, but slavery, though. I think some of the writers won awards for that kind of garbage. But the names are right. I'll give it for that, the AMC Turn. I was looking forward to watching that, but then... anyways, Tactics 99 for Talmadge. That's weird. But okay. Talmadge was one of the leaders of the Culper spy ring. And the Culper spy ring brought about by George Washington because it was Fairfax, Virginia, Culpeper County, which, showing my baseball, a love of baseball here, Epa Rixey, a Hall of Fame pitcher, and Pete Hill, a Negro League player of 1906. Very good leader, was friends with Rube Foster, who created the first Negro Leagues in the 20th century. So that's when they kind of got big. They're starting to get big. And they were with Cuba as well. They're kind of aligned with Cuba at the time, bringing baseball down there. Because they couldn't play in the white leagues, of course, because of segregation. Brought about by Cap Anson, horrible mother effer, who didn't want Fleet Walker, who did play in baseball. There was black people playing in baseball in the 19th century, by the way. But Cap Anson, who was probably the 19th century god of baseball, said, we're not playing with Negroes. So Fleet Walker couldn't play, that kind of thing. Sol White, who later wrote a lot of books about Negro League history, which is what we know about the early 20th century. And guys like Pete Hill and that. They were born, Pete Hill was born in Culpeper, Virginia, before I get too off the tracks here. So that's what it was named after. So it was named the Culper Ring. And the Culper Ring, he was John Bolton, was Benjamin Talmadge's alias. Abraham Woodhull, which whoever watches that show knows that that's the main actor. He was Sam Culpeper Sr. And Robert Townsend was Sam Culper Jr. Those were the spies during that time. And that was due to Nathan Hale being hung for treason, trying to spy. And George Washington said, we need better intelligence. We need to formulate better intelligence than what we have now. And that's one way that we also won the revolution, is that we had a big spy network going on up here in the New England colonies in New York. So yeah, Benjamin Talmadge, very good guy. I don't know why his taxes are 99, but I am not going to say a damn thing because I need somebody like that right now. So what we're going to do is going to bring these guys up. Oh, cancel. Benjamin's move. Bring them both up to Springfield. Hi. Okay, Portsmouth. Now. Oh, we're too tired. Can we drill? No, we can train at this time. We have no money, we have no nothing. Can we parade? We can't even parade. But we can rest. Montgomery. I need him steadfast here. Can you parade, Montgomery? Good. Can you get us up a little bit? 47. He's doing well. 3 points at a time. I'll take it. Personnel, info, diplomacy, recruit. Oh, God. Regiments, personnel, furlough. They're already furloughing. Okay. Regiments, move. Go to 14. You know what? We'll keep. Hold on. Do they? I think they have Gates way too. Yeah, they have Gates way too high than he should be. But we'll do it. Ugh. It pisses me off knowing Horatio Gates that he has. But we have Thompson here. It pisses me off knowing that Gates has that. So we're going to do 1,500 for ration. Oh, right on the button. And 1,500 for powder. And we're going to take $11. I want my $11. All right, so we did that. And Wyoming. Regiments reform. Reform them all. Thank you for doing that. December 1st, December 1st, November 16th. Good going. Regiments battle. Fort Niagara. Oh, he can't do it, son of a bitch. So we got to arrest him. William Alexander, who was the adjutant general, by the way, which is the chief administration general later. Joseph Reed was. Boston's women launched a campaign to equip the American soldiers stationed there. Wonderful. All right, so we're back. And what we're going to do is we're going to save here. So we're going to save here. I think I got most of the generals. I appreciate it. We're going to... I'm going to save that as Norwich again. I think we did pretty good, so we're good on that one. So I'm just going to save it as Norwich. We can only do so many. Saving complete. But hopefully that was a little inspirational. I went a little too long. I'm probably going to cut this, but oh my god, that almost went an hour. That was amazing. So hopefully you stuck around for all of it. Later on, we will go through the British soldiers, and we'll go over some of those. I'll tell you about Robert Pigot and Asgill there. Thomas Gage, of course. I think I told you about Thomas Gage earlier, that he was a great administrative general when things were peaceful, but when it came to war, Gates was not so good. William Howe was a little arrogant, who I don't know who's the CNC right now is. Britain. I don't think the game tells me that. But in real life, after Gage, it was William Howe, who his brother was the admiral. So the two brothers, one was in charge of the army and one was in charge of the navy, and they just had this arrogance about them. Robert Howe, not William, but Robert, who was the admiral, didn't take the Americans for granted. He really wanted to attack and blockade. But William Howe was just, we'll smack them around a bit. We'll show them our power. They'll get in line. He did not think they were serious. He did not think they were a threat. So whether that was arrogance on William Howe's part, probably a little bit, but was it also, these are our countrymen and we don't want to burn to the ground? Like if people watch Game of Thrones now, that's the thing that Daenerys Targaryen right now, I have dragons, I could just burn everything to the ground. Well, if you burn everything to the ground, you're just like everybody else, and you're just like, you're just showing them what a tyrant really is. And maybe that's what William Howe thought. But people like Henry Clinton said, I want to smash him in the mouth, I want to smash him in the mouth again. That's what he did. So, and he would have been the best commander in general. Cornwallis was... who was the last one. A lot of people remember him because he was there at the end as the CNC. He was meticulous in his note takings, and he's the reason we got a lot of what the British were doing and who the British were, because Cornwallis was he was a very good general, and he did great things for Britain after the American Revolution. But he took over too late. Cornwallis did. And Clinton, I think, if Henry Clinton was the general and he was going to treat the Americans just like any other enemy, and he was a little bit more brutal than any of the CNC, any of the three CNCs that the British had, I think he could have defeated us. I really think he could have. We would have revolted again simply because of his his abuse, and he would have done the scorched earth policy on us. But I think he would have won. But hey, just like any Clinton, he just would have made things worse. Oh, I'll leave it off at that. All right, thank you for joining me. Get off my revolution lawn.